DPOY. The NBA Defensive Player of the Year award is always given to the NBA's best defender. Now I think it's safe to say that anytime there's any award that's being given out, whether it's the Defensive Player of the Year or even someone like All-NBA defensive team, some people are going to be left out of consideration. So in today's video, I want to bring you guys 3 Defensive Player of the Year candidates that are probably not going to win it, but I want to talk about them because they're so damn talented. Now I have talked about 2 of these guys on the channel, so if you do want to see those videos, the link will be in the description below. Now with the way the NBA is going on right now, there's a very good chance that one of these guys could actually end up winning the Defensive Player of the Year. And with this list of guys, there's not really a person that I think is better than the other. I think they're all on the same level. If you guys think you know who should win Defensive Player of the Year, then make sure you leave that in the comment section below. Of course, before I get into the content, if you guys could leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new, notifications on. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel by the end of the year, and your subscription would be greatly appreciated. Let's get into the video. Right off the bat, if we're going to talk about people that deserve Defensive Player of the Year, or at least some consideration for that matter, we need to talk about Mikal Bridges. Now, for someone that's being considered the 4th best player on this team is very impressive, especially for the fact that this guy should have been an all-defensive player last year. Now, unlike some of the other guys on this list, he is really good not only on the perimeter, but inside the paint. When every single person thought it was impossible to guard Steph Curry, Mikal Bridges did just that. He's annoying as hell to play against, but when he's on your team, you're gonna love him, especially with his long-ass wingspan, which is so clutch when it comes to getting steals and blocks. I would like to argue this is one of the reasons why the Phoenix Suns have been doing so well. Every contender needs a good defensive player, and I think there's no doubt in my mind that Mikal Bridges is the best defensive player on the Phoenix Suns. And when you're on the best team in the NBA and you hold that title on your team, that's very special. I think a lot of people would argue that Mikal Bridges brings a lot of energy to the team. Now, unfortunately for Mikal Bridges, when it comes to the betting odds of who's going to win it, according to sportsbettingdime.com, Mikal Bridges has the 4th best odds, with the odds being of 2100. I just don't think there's any way that he's actually going to win unless Draymond Green continues to be injured and Rudy Gobert gets hurt and Giannis stops doing so well. Then I really don't think Mikal Bridges has a shot to actually win the Defensive Player of the Year award, even though he does deserve it. In fact, every single team could use a guy like Mikal Bridges who can lock up the best team's other player. Now last season, Mikal Bridges didn't even make the all-defensive NBA team, and I think this season no doubt he needs to make it. Now don't get me wrong, I want this man to win Defensive Player of the Year because that's what he deserves, but at the end of the day, if he can get some consideration for his defense, then I would love it. I feel like this season a lot more people are starting to notice Mikal Bridges because a lot of eyes lately have been on the Phoenix Suns because a lot more people are starting to look at them as a legitimate team. I also do want to remind you guys that the Phoenix Suns do have arguably the best defense in the NBA. And who is leading the defense on the Phoenix Suns? Well, that would be Mikal Bridges. Now the next guy I want to talk about is a little more unorthodox as a defensive player, but I gotta say he's getting no recognition whatsoever. Matisse Thybulle has a very unorthodox stance when it comes to playing defense. Instead of being in front of the guy or to the side of the guy, he's more behind the guy. Pause. Now what I think is a lot more interesting is I think Matisse Thybulle and Mikal Bridges are really close when it comes to who's the better perimeter player, because Matisse Thybulle has locked up Steph Curry on national television just like Mikal Bridges, but for some reason Matisse Thybulle's was a lot more popular, probably for the fact because that was Steph Curry's worst career game of all time. Now Matisse Thybulle is not a scorer, and I love that he's a defensive minded player, and that's it. Now something that I do like about Matisse but is a little bit risky is that he's a gambler. There are times where he does bite trying to get the steal, but it ends up in a score for the other team. But with the way Matisse Thybulle is able to lock up most of the time, it's really not seen of that big of a deal. Now something that a lot of people are downplaying is that Matisse Thybulle has a defensive field goal percentage of 37.4. But what I think is the most eye-opening stat is that Matisse Thybulle has a 19.9 defensive field goal percentage when it comes to 3-pointers, which makes a lot of sense because when we look at the fact that he was able to lock up Steph Curry, it really does show that he can really play the perimeter pretty well. He does have a weakness, however, and that's that he's not really good inside the paint. With a defensive field goal percentage of 57.1 with shots that are less than 6 feet, it does definitely show that Matisse could work on his paint defense. The man is 6'5", so he's not the tallest person in the world, but I will say he definitely is able to use his length to his ability. Unfortunately for Matisse Thybulle, he's not getting any Defensive Player of the Year consideration. After the game where he locked down Steph Curry, a lot of people really hyped about him and saying that he could win it. Unfortunately, it is currently February and the man has plus 6,500 odds, which doesn't even crack the top 5. I mean, when you look at his stats, he has 5.7 points per game and 2.4 rebounds. So when it does come to normal stats, yes, he's not really good at shooting the ball and he's not exactly going to be a primary scorer, but he was a first-round pick for a reason, and that's because of his defense. Now, I said this in my last Matisse Thybulle video, but if you're you're an up-and-coming player or you're someone that just wants to play basketball professionally, I think a lot more younger kids nowadays should try to emulate Matisse Thybulle. Again, to most people, his game isn't exactly the prettiest thing in the world. Yeah, you're not going to be dunking over players or shooting 40-foot bombs, but at the same time, this is something that you need to be a winning basketball team. And the 76ers are currently one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. So you tell me what you think is more important. Last season, he was an all-defensive NBA player, but he just isn't really getting that much recognition this season. Again, I think we need to start talking about more perimeter players because it seems like statistically that the paint guys are getting a lot more love. I mean, the top three candidates are Rudy Gobert, Draymond Green, and Giannis, who are primarily going to be really good when it comes to being inside the paint. Last time someone that was really good at perimeter defense actually won the award was in 2016 when Kawhi Leonard won it, and before that it was in 1996 with Gary Payton. And with the way that today's game has evolved, I think that a lot more people should be prioritizing perimeter defense. We're even seeing these guys that are really good inside the paint are now starting to shoot three-pointers. So yeah, Mikal Bridges or Matisse Thybulle is not going to average you 20 and 5, but they're going to lock up the other team's best perimeter player. Now the last player I want to talk about is not a perimeter player, he's actually someone that's inside the paint, but this guy is not getting a lot of love for defensive player of the year. And even when I talked about him in a video a while back when I said he was good on defense, every single person in that comment section said that this person was not that good as a defensive player. Now the Memphis Grizzlies are one of the hottest teams in basketball right now, and I think it's safe to say that one of the reasons for that is because of Jaren Jackson Jr. I would like to mention the fact that he is currently averaging 2.3 blocks per game, and in the month of January he had 50. So it seems like lately Jaren Jackson Jr. has really been on a tear. Now unlike Mikal Bridges and Matisse Thybulle, Jaren Jackson Jr.'s odds are actually the 4th best at plus 800. He's one of the more versatile defenders in the NBA, and the Memphis Grizzlies are so damn lucky to have him. Now when it comes to defensive ratings, the Memphis Grizzlies had one of the worst defensive ratings last season. However, with the resurgence of Jaren Jackson Jr., it seems like their defensive rating has gone up. They have the 3rd best defensive rating of 108.4, which is better than a lot of teams in the NBA. Now overall with this video, I just wanted to talk about these 3 candidates because I felt like these were some guys that did deserve to at least get some consideration for the defensive player of the year. Now don't get me wrong, guys like Draymond Green and Rudy Gobert and Giannis are really good defenders, and I'm not going to take that away from them. And as I mentioned earlier, I feel like that perimeter players are not getting that much love when it comes to the defensive awards like defensive player of the year and even some defensive all-NBA selections. Most of these guys are probably not going to win defensive player of the year this season, and that is completely fine. However, I think the NBA has a really bright future. I could see all these guys developing and just becoming better defensive players. And with everyone that I mentioned on this list, that is going to be so scary for the NBA. With all that being said, if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like on this and subscribe to the channel if you're new and notifications on. Before I do end this video, I want to thank you guys for all the recent support lately. I've been seeing a lot of new people subscribing and commenting under my videos, and I feel like we build a community over here. And when it comes to comments, I read every single comment, and I've seen all the nice ones and the mean ones, and you know what? I'm blessed for all the people that are saying I'm underrated and that I'm going to blow up one day. I appreciate all those comments so much. The only reason why I'm able to upload a video every single day and not get burnt out is because I love doing this, and you guys are the reason why. Anyways, I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Have an amazing day. Take care. Peace.